Oh, you hanging out right. Hanging out right. Hanging out right. Hanging out right. Oh, you hanging out right. Hanging out right. I know hanging out right. Oh, you hanging out right. Hanging out right.
All right, everybody, welcome to Hanging Out Right with Rainey. I'm John Martinez, and we want to welcome you to this segment of our brand new podcast. We're so honored to have two amazing, incredible, beautiful people. Chuck, who's our guest today?
Jonathan Moffett and Victor Wooten.
All right. So we got Victor hanging out with us right now. How you doing, Victor?
Good, man. I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Man, it's our honor.
For consenting to be here.
Absolutely. So today we're going to talk about For the Love of Money. Money. And about playing for the money, and we're going to talk about social and political skills that you might need to develop to be successful in this business. So, Chuck, why don't we start with you and maybe tell us a little bit about some of your experiences in the business, working with maybe Quincy or Steely Dan or any of those guys.
Well, money is very important. If you want to feed your family, keep yourself clean, and look presentable, you got to make money. So to me, I kind of think that there's two sides to the coin. You got to make money to do what you're doing, but then again, you also too have to love what you're doing. And a lot of people don't really like what they're doing. Or if they don't like it, they do it because their ego wants to be there, to be seen and to be heard. Because a lot of people will go to talking about things only for being present, their ego being present to show people who they are. I know a lot of dates I've done, a lot of musicians that are great have basically spoiled, been fired or not hired again because the other side of that coin that I'm talking about, the ego, is talking too much about things that don't make sense.
Yeah.
And so, of course, we have that in all professions, but I found that I had to make money. But I was very lucky in that I love to play the bass, always have loved to play the bass. And I never really charged anybody. Actually, maybe every now and then I would charge somebody, but not to charge. I always wanted to be paid, if possible, as much as anybody else. Also, too, I'll play for nothing. So on that side of the coin, I got into the business, number one, by playing for nothing or doing favors because of the people that I was working with. I would love to play with Eric and Paul and Bernard, Richard T, and all the other people that I played with when I came up in New York, playing as a professional basis. So money was always important. However, though, I'll put that to the side because I've never, maybe once, I planned to charge somebody, but I don't know whether I'm not to say that I'm that smart, but I know with Miwa Yoshida, I've done 2 of her albums, and the last album I did with her, she did West Coast guys, and she did East Coast guys. So I know Will Lee very, very well. And in New York, they used Will Lee. So I'm thinking when I'm on my way to LA to do the second half of the album, what should I charge her? Number one, they've always paid me well. So without talking about a specific number, when I got off the plane, with Miwa, we never talked about money because she always paid me fairly. When I got off the plane, rather than saying, I said, well, I asked in some kind of way, what am I being paid? And he told me right quickly what the budget was for me. And if I had told him what I want, because he offered twice as much as I was going to ask for.
Interesting.
So there's a way to socially and politically do something and not do something.
Yeah.
For me, the universe has always been very, very kind. and that I just love to play, number one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
New York, I did so many favors. That's how I got into business, by doing somebody a favor. If I'm not playing the bass, rather than sit on the stoop on 85th Street and play like everybody else was, I would rather play with somebody and just to play,
Right.
because it's important that people know that you can play.
Right.
No. So like basically that one thing with Miwa Yoshida, they always treated me very, very well. The Japanese have been my greatest fans. Now, when I say that, it's just that I enjoy Japan. I have a lot of friends there, and they've always been upfront with the money, and have always paid me before I got there.
Yeah.
Now, that's very comfortable for my family and in my mindset. You know, like I'm being paid well with certain people, and I've never really been. I've been offered lowball money, but then I've always turned it down, especially with Quincy and traveling with
Okay.
traveling with him. You
Yeah.
know, but as far as record dates go, I was always paid double scale. And aside from being paid double scale, that's a lot. Um, aside from that, I'm with Quincy Jones, so I would do it if I was not paid double scale. I would still do it because I love the music and I love to play. But so in that question, there are times when you work for the money, and there are times that you work just because you love to play.
Sure.
Now, I don't expect other people to be like me. I just love to play. I've never asked for a dime. I just want, pay me what you can. Now, of course, as you get further into your career, you begin to um, realize that you're being underpaid for what you're worth. But then that's in my mind, or that's in the individual's mind. Sometimes the client cannot afford to pay you what you may want.
Yeah.
And so I'm in favor. A client pays me a check when I lived in New York. It happened several times. This check bounces. So rather than me
Uh,
call him up and go by the office looking for it, if check bounces, it means he didn't have it.
he ain't got it, and he ain't gonna have it when you call him.
You know, except that, and half of those people, when they call again a few months later or a year later, I remind them that they owe me money
Yeah.
and they pay me for what I did before we even talk about today. Also, too, I'll play with people that have great reputations and I've worked with that really play very, very well. Right now, I'm just so bummed out because I have not played my bass since last September.
That's wrong.
Around here, where we live, there's no money in gigging. Now, when I say no money, I have a very large overhead. And so like $100 gig or $50 gig on a Friday night in a smoky bar, excuse me, is not worth it. Coming home at 2 o'clock in the morning, especially in the wintertime,
Mm.
Fighting traffic and fighting the weather and stuff like that. So like I look at you, I mean, as we get into this, I can probably talk more about it. But I've been watching you for the last 6, 7 years, and I'm amazed at what you do.
Who are you talking? You must be talking to Victor.
I'm talking to you. I'm amazed at how, and of course, being your friend and business partner, what you do, these country artists should be kissing your butt.
Yeah.
Well, like, I will not drive from here to St. Louis.
Yeah. I don't do that. I don't do it. If I do drive that far, it's usually because I like it. Like I just want to drive just because, it gives me a chance to listen to some music, podcasts, or things that I don't get to do because I'm busy. But
You have been busy.
yeah, I'm always busy. But it's everything. It's not just the country thing. It's the jazz thing, the funk thing, the gospel thing, the church thing, anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really interested in hearing what Victor has to say, but just to comment, when I was growing up, they used to tell us love don't feed, don't pay the rent. So there comes a time when you just gotta okay, I gotta pay the bills, so I gotta do what I gotta do, and sometimes gotta pay and I've heard you say this before. You gotta sometimes work with people you don't necessarily care for. on a personal level, but you got a job to do. So you gotta learn to develop those social skills. And then there's something that Dave Chappelle I found interesting one time. He was talking about when he was getting ready to go to Hollywood. His dad told him, name your price. And when it gets to a place where, like I said before earlier, Chuck, some money is too expensive to make. It's just, it costs too much to make that money, and there's sometimes a time you just have to walk away from some of that money, because there's something on a visceral level, or a personal or spiritual or whatever level, that it's a toxic environment. It's not worth that money. It's better just walk away. And it's interesting. Last week I brought in a student, and I think this will be a great transition to throw the ball to Victor. I had a guy as a student. He's from another country, actually, and I had him help me translate a video lesson. And at the end of it, I'm trying to give him money, and he didn't want to take it, and he kept trying to refuse the money. And it was good. It was a nice piece of money, but I'm trying to explain to him, dude, at some point, you have to take the money. You have to accept it. You're a professional, and it's okay. It's like, you have to accept the appreciation, and there's going to be, and I'm trying to help him see where he should set his value. Like, I'm just trying to train him, like, dude, you shouldn't take anything less than this on a professional level. Let me show you how to take the money and accept it. Because a lot of us, especially bass players and drummers, we often find ourselves as the sidemen. But sometimes we're the leader, and we got to treat our people well. We got to pay them, how we want to be paid, because we know what it feels like to be the sideman. So,
a lot of people just hire their friends.
yeah. Well, hopefully, I want to hire my friends, because the music sounds great when we're playing with friends. But Victor, tell us a little bit about your attitude about the business, and how you balance love for playing and making money, and not feeling like you're selling out, or what. Just, I'd be interested in just your perspective on business.
Well, for one, selling out, it just kind of depends on what that means.
Exactly.
But I'd love to get paid doing what I love to do. And I know a lot of people say, well, this is a God-given talent and I shouldn't get paid. And I'm like, so you'd rather get paid doing what you don't love?
Right.
And what you do love?
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, for me, you don't even have to look at, I was telling a person this just recently, don't look at it as getting paid then. Looking at it as a trade.
Mm.
I'm giving you this, you're giving me this. And really all they're giving you is paper. A whole lot less worth than what you're giving them.
Mm.
They're literally giving you something that's really worth nothing except what we all agree that it's supposedly worth. It's paper.
Mm.
Right? So you've poured your sweat, your love, your life, your heart into this. Let somebody give you something back. And like you said, we have families. I have no problem taking money, and a lot of it. I mean, seriously, nothing wrong with it. There's people getting lots of money for doing less than what we're doing. Because they've been set up, by their parents or for whatever reason. But there's no problem in taking money for what you are offering people. And what we offer people with music is life-changing and definitely life-enhancing. And I believe we should be paid for it. And it saddens me that these days, our generations now don't expect to pay for music. Right? You remember when we were kids, we paid for music and television was free. Right? Nowadays, we're willing to pay for television, cable, all this, but we want our music free. And yes, like Chuck said, sometimes we play for nothing. And I know exactly what it means, but we're always playing for something. We may just not be playing for money in that gig, but we're playing because we love it. Might be playing because I love you. Might be playing just because I love to play. And it might be paying because I had a great month and I don't need your money. Who knows? But I'm not going to do, basically, we're playing really first for the love of playing music. We love to play music. Yeah. And of course, the payment is a bonus because we would do it for free, but only to an extent. Because if I can't feed my kids, I got 4 kids, 2 of them in college, all that. Wow. I can't pay for my kids. Then I have to find something else to make money. So money's a part of our society, a part of our culture, and we can't act like it's not.
Right. Hey, Chuck, remember we were talking about cats that come in the studio, and not only do they want to know what everybody else is getting paid, but then they'll bring up contracts and things. You know what I'm talking about? I don't want to mention no names, but there's someone in particular I'm thinking of. Say that, Chuck.
You said they bring a contract?
No, they want to know about contracts so I guess my question, or what I'm trying to put out there, is we are a society that looks at this thing, and it's like an imaginary thing that we trade called money. And but a lot of times in our business, I go do lots and lots of gigs. I don't have time to sit there and tie up, my time with contracts. A lot of gigs are just handshake or verbal agreements. And hey, man, I need you to come, blah, blah, blah. It pays this much. It don't pay much, but at least it's a long drive. But so when do you guys think it's appropriate to say, I need a contract?
I've never thought about that. I mean, I've never dealt with that at all. I've always belonged to the AFM that takes very good care of musicians. During this pandemic, I'm so glad I was a union man because, I don't have a whole lot of money, but what I do get without having to work, if I'm frugal, I can hang. I'm all right because I let the union, dictate through union policies how I'm paid, which is scale. And the scale has always been handsome compared to other jobs, So being a union man, which I've always been, and I've always told people why I'm a union man, is because I don't have to worry about a lot of things, especially residuals. There are some companies that don't do what they're supposed to do, but for what I get enough for everybody, man. I tell you, I've always, when it comes to making a contract to do a particular gig, not like if it's in Japan, Germany, or Ireland, which I've frequented, they do send a contract on what you're going to be paid. And in those cases, I've been very fortunate in that I always get paid before I leave. And the money's always been solid. I've never been dissed at all by going someplace and not being paid once I leave the country. It only happens where I live, if it's going to happen. And when it does happen, I just take it, I don't take it as a grain of salt. But if a guy doesn't pay me, he ain't got it. So there's no sense in me hounding him for it because he doesn't have it. Now that just happened a few times, well, a lot. I've been playing for over 60 years. So it's happened a lot, but my love for playing and just being on the gig so that you and Victor and everybody else know that I can play, and I'm good to get along with. I don't make beans out of anything. I don't need to show that it's me when I'm playing. I just play what comes through me. So I get along with a lot of people. There's some people I don't get along with because they're too how can I put it, their ego or what they say to me. I walked off a couple of gigs. I know I was doing a gig with one guy in LA where Truman Thomas was Aretha's band leader at the time, and Bobby Womack, homeboy, bless his heart, didn't want to pay me double scale, which I was used to. I was getting double scale. This Bobby Womack.
Uh,
And so he didn't want to pay me double scale. He said, well, like, I'm a studio musician too, and I never asked for double scale. I said, well, Bobby, you're not me.
Hmm.
And I know what he's doing. I knew the project that he was doing. It was for him. I knew that he had money, to pay me, but he was one of those people that did not pay musicians double scale. It gets to be real dumb to me sometimes. There's a good friend of mine. Well, I shouldn't say that because there's been 2 or 3 people here in Texas. When they come on the date, they ask many questions. You're a side man. I never ask these questions. What's the record company? Who's the artist? And the blah, blah, blah. And how many dates are we going to do? Are we going to do any more? Too many questions. It pisses off the contractor. And when I've been a contractor in situations like this, like I have to take a guy to a side if he's a friend and I can talk to him. They say, man, you're asking too many questions. Not just play. You're going to get paid. You don't need to know who the artist is. Because sometimes I've done a lot of dates and I never knew who the artist was. A lot.
Yeah. Or can I get a copy? Can I get a copy of the? Can I get a copy of the mix?
That right there also used to bug me when I was the contractor. When it was when it was my session. Said no, I can't give you a copy of the mix. I don't want to make it just for you. I'm not through with it yet.
Yeah, I want to put it on my website.
There's things like that that make you not call that person again.
Yeah.
Even though they're getting paid. So I don't know what that has to do with money. I guess it does, but a lot of people they want to tell their friends what they just did. They want to write down every recording that they did. And I've had a drummer who bugged me endlessly after the date for a couple of weeks. He wanted a copy of what he did. I thought he was a very good drummer. And I told him, I said, man, you're not privy to have a copy until I finish with it. Well, man, I just want to put it up on my site to show people what I'm doing. I said, this is not what this business is all about. So like I've learned the hard way, and I should have known that because I've been through that already in New York and in LA. You can ask a question, but sometimes it's not necessary. I don't need to know who I'm working for. I'm working for the money. I just want to play. I don't want to know who I don't want to broadcast that I just did a date. But a lot of people that don't do many dates. There are a lot of musicians who maybe do one session a month, 1 or 2. But when they come in front of people, they make sure that everybody thinks that they do sessions. But when I do a session, I take 2 basses, or I do so and so and so. But you only do one every now and then. It's and it stops people from hiring you. Well, I guess in that situation it doesn't. But I found it to be kind of ridiculous for someone. They do 1 or 2 sessions, and now all of a sudden they're a studio musician.
Yeah.
So they don't make any more money because people won't. If they do it to me, when I talk to you, when I talk to Victor, if the time comes available, I'll talk about that person. Sugarfoot.
First of all, I'm thankful for the gifts that God has graced me with, that I can spend my whole life enjoying what I do, not to accept something else, a job that I'm not really heartfelt into. We are so very blessed, man, because we spend our spirit on good, wonderful things and wonderful times and wonderful expressions with our communication with everybody in the world that hear us and come to enjoy what we do, what we contribute. And And more important than that is that they feel us when we play. That's everything. We make people feel us, our spirit. They know who we are, not so much how we look, what we say. But when we play and pick up our instrument, they feel us in a deeper sense of being. And this is power. And this is a grace from God. We've been gifted like shaman. We spirit the word of love and truth. And also it's the honesty of the spirit that we spend and send to people and they hear us play. We are the translators that gone beyond and above. When Babel got scrambled the languages, we're the translators that make everybody know what we say. They can't scramble our language. Music is a language of love, a language of meaning, language of spirit, man. And you can scramble the words and the meanings of the words, but when you play a song, you play music, everybody feels it in some way, form, or fashion. I am so blessed. So I won't walk in a session like that. I'm saying all of that to say how I appreciate being called for the first thing.
Yeah.
There's so many drummers out there, thousands and tens of thousands, maybe hundred thousands of drummers. And if I get called on to work on a session, I'm so thankful and grateful that they call me rather than any one of the other ones, because that means that they hear something in me and my contribution, my playing, that they want and they need and they feel that would add to what they're trying to say in their music. And I'm grateful for that people relate to me and when I play, and it means the world to me. And I wouldn't do anything else, if I given a chance to do something, change my life and do something different. There is nothing different from me. And even at this later stage in life, I'm enjoying it just as much as the little boy who started playing in nightclubs at 10 years old and found out you could make money from this. And I didn't know. My brother said, here you go. And they gave me a $5 bill. I said, what's this? They said, this is your money. You get paid. I said, you get paid for this? I said, oh, man, this is cool. I want to do this forever. And I bought some candy. So I told that little boy inside. And music just keeps us all, I'm sure you guys relate, it keeps us all young. No matter how the age of the body, our spirits are still that useful thing. And I feel it, and I feel the difference in life. Then because of the art of music that we appreciate, it's like vitamins. It keeps our spirit young and lively and positive, because we can do positive things. So when I approach a session, I'm just happy. Of course, it's got to be the right session. I'll do the session whatever the music is. I mainly want to give them what they want, not what I think. This is their song. This is their creation. This is their expression to the world. So I'm here. What do you want me to do? I'm in your drum machine. Program me. Tell me what you want. I'll play it like you want it. If you want some extra things, and you tell me, I'm not just going to do them. Interesting. What you like, give me the direction. So I'm not like some guys, like you're saying, not like that. That's not me. I'm happy to play drums, and I put up my drums up there, and the guy set up my drums. I'm ready to play because I know my work is my play, and my play is my work. So how can you have a better life and existence than that when you enjoy so much what you do? I spent my time in my life enjoying my life, and I'm sure, like you, me, we are all grateful for that. We are all positive people.
Namaste, my brother. Namaste.
Yeah.
That's the way the four of us here. I know that to be a fact. The last time we saw each other, we pledged to play some music together.
That's right. I remember that all.
I'm still looking for that day.
And I am too. And I've been thinking of all kinds of ways we can get together. I know it hasn't happened yet, but we're going to merge together in this nearest future when this thing is over. We're going to make this happen. And I would think one concept is that we do something together, but I would like to all guys, let's get together in this session. We do something together, and it would be beautiful. It would be wonderful. Any new creation is a wonderful thing.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I admire you guys. I admire you guys so much. You're heroes of mine. So it'd be a pleasure to work with you guys and share a spirit. Our breaking of bread is our sharing of spirit. So
yeah.
I would love that very much.
So now, Victor, you and Jonathan know each other?
Not well, but yes.
We met a few times, but we never get to spend time like we like to.
Exactly. But hopefully we got a few more years left in it, so we can make it happen.
We're going to have to make it happen. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, let's do it.
You young guys have a lot of years. I'm gonna be around till I'm 106 for sure.
We hope so.
Look, I'm going to loiter. I say I'm going to loiter. I'm loitering. They can't get rid of me so fast. They
Right.
tried to one time, but I'm loitering. I'm the little kid that just hung around too long and got old. They call old, but I'm like still a little kid. I'm ready to loiter.
What I find common in all the comments, and you guys are the cats, man, you know, is that money, even though it's important and we all know it's important because we got to keep body and soul together, doesn't seem to be the thing that's on the forefront of anyone's mind here. It's always like, no, this is my passion. This is why I'm here, and I just got to do it. And I don't know if you ever heard this saying, you'll never get to where you want to go if you stop and throw rocks at every barking dog. That's sort of a way of saying you got to choose your battles. Sometimes you do have to take care of business and make sure you're getting paid and deal with that. But if every single gig becomes about money, you're never going to be working.
Yeah.
You got to remember why we're doing this. We love it. We want to share our love for it, for people, and it is important, because if it wasn't, we would never have evolved with the ability to do this, because it wouldn't have been necessary. So obviously people need what we have, right?
Don't get me wrong now. I like getting paid.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm going to get paid too to pay my bills. I like getting paid. You know, money works for me. But there's a bigger and greater aspect to it.
So let's move the conversation into today. So now we're dealing with a global pandemic.
Yes.
A lot of us are having to rethink how we're handling our business. So how are we moving forward in your minds? Victor, maybe you can answer this. How do we move forward in COVID? Because it's reinventing the industry, right?
Well, I mean, there's a few ways. One is to realize that somebody's still making money, right? Even though musicians may not be making money from our own music, somebody is. So that to me means there's a way, whether I know it or not, there's a way for me to make some money if I need it. But I first, Chuck knows my mom really well before she passed. I first lived by my mom's rule that if you treat life right, life will treat you right. And that means to me being honest, being a good person, going into every situation as best as I can. And like Jonathan said, when we play, most of us here are sidemen. Our job is to make other people happy, to make other people's music sound good. That's why the bass was invented, not as a solo instrument, to support. So we're in roles of service already. So I want to be good at that. I want to be the best at that. And when I say the best, that doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. It's the best that I can be, So for me, I have found that if I go into everything as best as possible in that moment with with that attitude, that purpose to help, to serve, to bring the best, to receive the best, life has rewarded me. Right. And if I needed money because life knew I was going to have kids and put them through college, life knew before I did. And it's like Chuck will say, you can call it what you want. Life, the universe, God, music, whatever you want to call it. Something out there knows more than me. Music knows more about music than I do. Right. I only been here 55 years. Music been around a lot longer than me. So I found that if I can use my brain, but not let my brain, which is just the size of a squishy grapefruit, right? To not let that try to run everything, right? I got to use my brain, but realize that it's not always in charge. Then life will take care of me. That I know. Now, money does come into that. And the main thing in the middle of the pandemic, my number one goal is to come out of it better. And it may not mean that I'm richer monetarily, but I'm going to be better at whatever it is, and starting with me. Because I always say normal got us to this place, this pandemic. I'm not trying to come back to normal.
Mm.
I'm coming back better than normal. Next time you shake my hand, you're going to feel a difference, right? That's what I'm looking at. And then I know that life knows more than me. You know, to not speak of really of religion, but to quote my mom would always say, God already knows about that. Right? So my main thing here with the pandemic is to really refuel, take all that stuff that we've been sweeping under the rug out and deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts with me. But also now, because this whole thing's kind of about money, I have found, and this is just me now, I have found that when my intentions are good, when my purpose is headed in the right direction, the means to fulfill that mission will happen, will show up. And so, for example, all of a sudden, I'm getting asked to do sessions, recording wise. I just turn them over to my manager, Danette, which many of you know. She just charges them way too much money. and they're saying yes. And it's going back to what Chuck was saying earlier. He never goes in there saying, this is what I want, because they might be willing to pay more.
That's right.
So when people ask my manager, what's Victor's fee? Her first answer is, you can't afford it. She says, this guy is priceless. You don't have enough money. You could be a millionaire and that still ain't enough. So what are you willing to pay? She goes in that direction. But as I can't do that for myself, but at the same time, this will sound egotistical, but at the same time, I know it's true. Because Jonathan said it, we're changing lives with this thing.
Yes.
Right? What we do with music, you mentioned the word shaman, that's what musician means, music shaman, We're powerful people. And then when you put your life into it the way the four of us have, we are shaman. Right?
Come to realization that we are shaman, we are spiritual healers with our music and what we do.
Absolutely.
And educators too.
Right.
With our music.
And a lot of people will say, well, that's a God-given talent. I shouldn't take money. Then what should you take? You know what I mean? And like I was telling you earlier, John, like I told a friend of mine recently, don't think of it as money. Think of it as a trade. Think of it as a barter. I'm giving you this stuff. You're giving me that. We're just trading. Right? I'm doing something for what you're giving me. And again, it's just paper, which really means nothing. We just attach meaning to it. Right?
Can I get deep on you?
Please do. Yeah. I love it.
I'm going real deep on you. Right? This is right in line with what you're saying. It's just trading. It's trading. And for me, I've changed my mindset. When I used to do sessions, especially in sessions, I used to do sessions and stuff. I still do them and stuff. And I charge my worth for the value of the time I spent 40 years professional in the industry. I charge my worth. But you know why I charge my worth? I've come to the awakening and realization is that, and it's quite a bit per song, but I come to realization and awakening that what we're doing and what I'm doing, you know what we're really doing when we do a session? We are basically selling a portion of our souls for them to capture on a recorded instrument, which they'll capture our spirit when we play in our execution. They capture our spirit and who we are, your identity, all out. They catching our identity to manipulate in their own fashion to make money off of. But basically, they own our spirit. Every portion, every time you recorded something, they got your performance. And not only the execution of notes and values you play and transitions and melodies or whatever it is, they've got where your soul expresses. They got you.
Yeah.
You hire me to session to trap me, to catch me. so you can manipulate me so you can make money. So you own me for the rest of time. Long after I'm gone, I'll still be playing drums on your song. You got my soul. My soul is very valuable.
Mm.
My spirit and the time and my soul expresses the amount of time I put in practicing when I was from a little boy, 6 years old, until I got good enough to make money in that nightclub, but even further on professionally. And
Right.
in 79 with the Jacksons and stuff, I spent a lot of invested time of my life developing my soul to
Mm.
present to you so you can I can loan it to you or sell it to you by getting paid for the session, but you have ownership of that for all of time,
Mhm.
and it's got to be worth a lot of money. It's got to be worth something more
Right.
than a
And,
couple of hours,
and
2 hour session fee. It's got to be worth something. So I've come in the later years, these last few years, rethink everything. I had time to do so. I start reevaluating the serious side of what we do and who we are. And we are basically letting them own us when they record us on any recording you've ever done. They own you. They can put out another record, a remix. They can do anything. They can remaster. They can sample you, but they sampling your soul. They
yeah,
sampling your performance. That is you for all time. And everybody who passed away, Michael Jackson, James Brown, everyone, they are captured on these recordings and these record companies and people who sampled own piece of their soul. They live. It's a good thing in a way because you never will die. I will never die.
Mm.
Put on a Madonna record, Richard Marx out record, or whoever record, Michael record, and I will be there performing constantly every time they hit play. Every time they put on an LP, put that drop that needle, I'm playing. I will never die. We are immortal. We are true immortals.
Mm.
Once you record us, we will never die. We live forever. But we give them permission to capture our soul when they pay us to do it, bring us in for a session and pay us to do it. So it's going to cost money.
right.
It's going to cost good money, more defined than what we're used to getting, and where the industry define how we should get paid. The industry defined the numbers. We didn't get a chance to do that in the beginning of recordings. They say we could. This is what we pay, scale or whatever it is, and we got to. For me, I redefine that what it means, and to fit in whatever this recording situation is. And I love playing, like I said, that's what my joy and everything. It's my life. It is who I am. But I've rethought about it on sessions, especially in my later years now.
Mm.
You know, I must say, I'll be 66 in November. 66.
Oh, you look good, John.
Thank you so much. I'll be 66 November. I'm in the fourth quarter. We about to go into the fourth quarter. I am in the fourth quarter. And every time and moment I spent doing anything, especially what I do, it's got to be worth more than when I did it when I was in my 20s, my 30s, and my 40s, because you're getting the last of the juice out of me. You're getting the last of the soul out of me. Who knows when it's time for me to check in? And everybody has their time, and I don't know when that's going to be, and I'm not here to rush it. I want to extend it. I want to loiter. Like I want to be a loiterer. Write me up for loitering on Earth, on this side of the soil. But at the same time, and these years is precious what I do and what I give and I contribute to bring your music to life, because I'm adding my soul to it, and you own my soul. Once I leave that session, I'm there. You're going to play over and over again, and while you're recording other people, I'm playing the drums, still playing the drums. While you mixing stuff, I'm still playing the drums. While you mastering stuff, when they hear that stuff back, I'm still playing the drums.
Mm.
Nobody else knows substitutes me. I'm captured. I'm trapped on that recording, whether it's digital or tape. So
That's
to own
interesting.
that
And
piece of any one of us,
to,
we gotta look at it like that. We're valuable. Our souls are valuable.
Mm.
We gotta look at it a different way, redefine it. I don't mean to
I
get deep on it.
I 100%
That's good.
agree with that, and that's why I have no problem asking for money or letting someone else ask for it in my behalf, because not only are they taking a piece of us, whether you call it soul, spirit, or whatever, but it's for the purpose of enhancing another person's soul, spirit, or artist.
Life.
So it's kind of even a higher calling.
Yeah.
We're doing this so that you can sing or you can get, the accolades. Because in many cases, again, we're sidemen, So for me, again, speaking personally, when I hire a band to go out to play for the Victor Wooten band or whatever, I notice that they're doing this for me. So I'm going to do my best to pay them as well as possible.
The way.
Not just cheap, you're sidemen. No, you're like the stars. You're giving of yourselves so the audience can scream at me, So what we do is a high calling.
It is.
It really, really is. It is a high calling. But I will say, too, it still is a trade-off a little bit. Or I'll even say a lot. In other words, because if I get the chance to play for a star or whatever, I can't say that I don't gain from that.
We do.
Right. So I get to carry a piece of that, for lack of a better word, spirit to the next place I go.
Mm.
In other words, I'm not the same Victor Wooten even after I've played with Jonathan Moffett, with Chuck Rainey, right? So I get to even carry a piece of yours to my next session. And they say, oh, this guy's worked with this guy, whatever. We all gain from each other. To me, that's what life's about. We give and we get from each other. And for me, I just want to be the best at it as possible.
Same as me.
Every step I take, I want it to bless somebody or even just bless the earth, right? And knowing that what we have put in and what we're still putting in and our reasons behind it, I have no hesitancy to make that trade. And in many cases, it's called money for what we have, which you can't even buy. All right. What we have is priceless. But yeah, I'll take your little bit of money just so I can use it to, whatever, feed my family, and it's because of those smart decisions that we've made in the past that we can sit here during this quarantine and be comfortable right here. So we have to be smart in our lives. We can't just be talented, and being smart knows how to view money, when to ask for it. Like Chuck says, when to play for free. And Chuck says we're playing for, sometimes I played for nothing, when we know what that really means. It is for something. It may just not be money.
Right.
I've done that before too. For fun and having fun with my friends, and that's my reward. That's my pay. If it's that kind of gig and that's kind of situation.
Let me break in to say this. I don't want to take too much time with this, but if I spent 3 years with Aretha Franklin and doing a lot of her recordings and also traveling with her as a member of her band. And me and Cornell Dupree and Bernard Purdy always had problems with money. Now, that was not coming from Aretha. It was coming from her manager.
Yes.
Who always wanted to remind us that people come to see Aretha, not the band. Now, of course, he's wrong, because these records is why she's doing all the performance she was doing. And I'll say this. I came up in Youngstown, Ohio, listening to a lot of gospel music. And Shirley Caesar just blew my mind the first time I heard her sing. And when I heard Aretha sing, it did the same thing to me. So me and Cornell and Bernard, we would rather take less money because of the manager's decision as opposed to what we should be getting. Aretha probably did not know, because at the time I was with her, she handled that with manager, and her manager and the people that were booking her. But I'll tell you this about Aretha. She knew, because she knew the environment she came up in. She knew what was going on. But because of her, I would have did every concert for nothing, because I took away more than if she paid me $1,000 a gig, which was an extremely amount of money back in the day, would never compensate with what I got from her when she opened her mouth to sing, and the way she looked at me.
Yeah.
When we did talk, and what I got from her. I've done so many Aretha Franklin interviews since she passed that I used to get tired of it. My wife reminds me, that's Aretha. And you are the way that you feel about her. So I took away everything more than what money could even buy by just being in her, just hearing her talk when she wasn't singing was enough to give my energy and my spirit enough energy to keep pressing on and be happy that I was the bass player and not somebody else.
Yeah.
I got more from that than money. Now, of course, at the time, I didn't need the money because all three of her rhythm section, we were doing a lot of work, session work.
Yeah.
So it wasn't about, we didn't need the money. It was just the principle of the thing, you know, of how the manager looked at us as opposed to her. You know, if I were not a musician, I would buy her records because of the band. Of course, probably for her too, but the band is very, very important on who's playing. Once I left Aretha, her manager, same manager, tried to hire me in LA, but I didn't agree with the other members of the rhythm section. It wasn't Cornell, it wasn't Bernard, it wasn't Richard T. It was somebody else, not that they weren't good musicians, but we were a family, and I got so much spiritual energy out of just, like I said, listening to her talk. She would just be talking. That's just something about her that was so special. So that wasn't about the money there. Now, there are other things I've done where I did need the money. Although that's before I started doing a lot of sessions. You know, you go out on the road with Eddie James and those people, you be in their bands because you need to pay that hotel bill. You know, you need to pay it. But even when I talk about Etta, there's something about her, the way she sang all her songs, that I left with more than what money could have paid me. I can say that now that I'm 80 years old, because I'm looking back on what I got from these people. So much energy and so much love, whether it was said to me or not. I felt it when they looked at me or when they smiled. Even if they didn't smile, I can tell by the way they played, by the way they did, that they were giving me more than the money.
Yeah.
I didn't plan on talking this way about money, but I'm glad that I am.